German elections. Big shock for Merkel's conservatives as center-left party comes out on top. So Angela Merkel is being characterized in the American press as a conservative. Well, let's see. Did she govern as a conservative? She ran Germany for 16 years. Well, in America, conservatives don't want women to get abortions, right? And some conservatives are even now, you've got a Texas legislator proposing the death penalty for women who get abortions. In Germany, Angela Merkel's conservatives in Germany offer abortions to women in the first 3 months of pregnancy at no cost if they are low income and with no excuses. You do have to get a prescription for the abortion. You do that by going to a counselor who has to, the law says, quote, must provide, quote, an open-ended consultation that encourages the woman to keep the child while at the same time not persuading her. No ultrasound hand rapes, or wand rapes, no gory movies to watch, no multiple visits, no bounties on people who help. Number one. Number two, in America, conservatives don't want the government funding or directly providing health care, right? Any sort of health care or health insurance. This should be the free market. In Germany, health care is a right, not a privilege. Everybody has it. If you can't afford to pay for health insurance, the government picks up the tab. If you can't afford, you pay according to a sliding scale based on your income. Nobody in Germany is uninsured. Nobody goes broke or becomes homeless because a member of their family got sick. In America, conservatives don't think unions should exist without government protections. But Angela Merkel's conservatives run a country where every company with over 1,000 employees is required to have half their board of directors made up of members of the so-called works councils, which are, kind of a parallel to unions. And IG Metall, the nation's largest union, just recently, and I'm quoting from their press release, won a key demand that workers have the right to reduce their working week from 35 to 28 hours for a period of up to 2 years in order to care for family members. Have a child? Hey, for 2 years you get 28-hour work weeks. And wait a minute. Did somebody just say that the normal work week in Germany is 35 hours for full-time pay? Oh, yeah, there's that, too. The conservative government in Germany. In America, conservatives have fought against any sort of mandatory paid vacation time. In Germany, it's required that you take at least 4 weeks off and that your employers pay for it. Many employers pay for 5 or 6 weeks. Angela Merkel takes it every year. She's, a good example. In America, conservatives successfully fought so hard against every attempt to have paid sick days that flu season is a danger. You go into the office or you go to a restaurant and, your fellow worker or, who's sick with the flu might be sneezing on you, or in the restaurant, the person in the back kitchen or even your server could be sneezing on your food because people are, unwilling to go to take time off without pay. In conservative Angela Merkel's Germany, the German employers are required by law to pay 100% of salary for up to 6 weeks when employees get sick. The employer can ask for a doctor's slip after 3 days. And if that person is so sick that they are disabled or they got like in a car accident and they're so injured that they can't work at all, the employer must pay a minimum of 70% of salary for 78 weeks. In America, conservatives say we shouldn't take tax dollars from rich people to pay for a high-quality public transportation system that reduces carbon pollution and makes it easy for low-income people to get to work or go grocery shopping. Merkel's conservative Germany has one of the best, most modern and clean public transportation systems in the world. And in 5 cities, they're experimenting with free public transportation to try to hit their clean air goals. In America, conservatives hate the idea of high-income people paying taxes to provide for these things, health care, education, housing, or anything else. In Germany, wealthy people pay a top income tax of 50.5%. I told you the story about the German businessman who on Bloomberg News said, I don't want to be a rich man in a poor man's country, or in a poor country. In America, conservatives say that if you're poor, it's because you're a moral failure and you deserve whatever happens to you, including living on the streets. The Constitution of conservative Angela Merkel's Germany requires all citizens must live with Grundgesetz, or dignity, which includes the government doing whatever is necessary to ensure that all citizens have a home, food, clothing, toiletries, furniture, transportation, and enough money to cover the expenses of life. Yes, there are some homeless people in Germany. It's a relatively small number. They actually have what they call a basic allowance, direct cash welfare program for people, for low-income people in Germany. In America, conservatives fight like hell to keep immigrants and refugees out of the country, particularly if they're not white or they're not Christian. In Germany, Angela Merkel, during the Syrian war, the Syrian refugee crisis, when they were just overwhelming Turkey and Greece and whatnot, Angela Merkel gave a national speech in which she said, we rebuilt this country after World War II. We reunified this country with East Germany. We have taken on huge jobs, and we can bring in 1.5 million non-Christian, non-white Syrian refugees. We can do that now. That would be the equivalent of about 6.5 million refugees being admitted into the United States overnight. And the German people so took her up on this that as the train loads of refugees were arriving in cities all over Germany, people were meeting them with flowers and toys for their children. In America, conservatives have fought for years. People spend longer and longer times in prison because we say, hey, punishment stops crime, right? Plus, our Constitution, the 13th Amendment, says that if you've been convicted of a crime, you can still be held in slavery. Yes, it says that. And most of the former slave states have these old Jim Crow laws that say that if you've ever been convicted of a crime, you can never vote again, which increases the incentives to throw people in prison. This is why we have 810 people in prison for every 100,000 Americans. In Germany, in conservative Germany, Merkel's conservative Germany, imprisonment outside of the most heinous crimes is seen as an opportunity, rehabilitation, and reintegration into society. So their incarceration rate, keep in mind, ours is 810 people per 100,000. There's 78 per 100,000 people. By the way, our crime rate is twice that of Germany. And they also have a multiracial, multicultural society. In America, conservatives say there shouldn't be any minimum wage, and the market should determine all wages. And if we have to have a minimum wage, keep it at $7.25 an hour. When Merkel took over Germany in 2005, there was no German minimum wage at all because the union movement was so successful that pretty much everybody had a really good paying job. Nonetheless, as Germany had embraced during the 1990s and the first decade of the 2000s, neoliberal trade policy and cheap Chinese goods were flooding in and Germany was deindustrializing, she pushed through a minimum wage law in 2014 that sets the minimum wage in Germany at around $11 an hour, which, when you consider that you have free health care, subsidized housing, a monthly up to $1,300 a month pension for low-income workers, and free education all the way up to a PhD or MD, is like a living wage. In America, conservatives say that paying for college should be on you or your parents. In Germany, conservative Chancellor Angela Merkel pushed through a complete and total abolition of all public college and university tuition. There is no student debt in Germany, unless you came to America to go to college. In America, conservatives fight like hell against free pre-K education for low-income families. Conservative Merkel pushed through in 2013 a new law guaranteeing 7 hours a day of free daycare and education for 3 to 6-year-olds. And in many parts of the country, that goes down to 1-year-olds. There's over 790,000 kids under 3 who are enrolled in these programs, free programs. In America, conservatives say if you can't afford a place to live, you always have the streets. In conservative Germany, housing is a right. In America, conservatives have aggressively fought for the right to own and openly carry not just handguns, but weapons of war. Thus, we had 19,000 gun deaths and 611 mass shootings last year. Germany has the second highest gun ownership rate in Europe. And yet, owning a gun in Germany is like owning a car here. You have to pass a proficiency exam, you have to pass a written exam, you have to register it with the government. And that's why in Germany last year, or 2018, the last year we have numbers for, they had 815 gun deaths in the entire country, and that includes suicides and accidental deaths. In the United States, we pay twice what any other country in the world pays for pharmaceuticals, more than twice in many cases.